Well, hello everyone. You have right here. I'm talking about right here. I'm talking about for higher demand right here, and a lot of times it sure seems that way. That when we do speak about explaining something, and it's like that anybody like your parents even will probably say this to word if you're going to be watching TV and maybe reading something or looking at something a lot of times, and like everybody says to word it really can you really explain to somebody about something just by looking at 2 pages right here? Just by 2 pages in your 102s to where really, 2 pages. There's really pages explain a lot of anything that to talk about, right? But I have right here, I'm talking about for, higher demand right here and talk about for explain, for higher demand. So let's just say that this right here is supposed to be an example right here of an infographic right here of the for the president right here. You have right here with the American with these American flags right here, and you think it is toward that when we do talk about the president and the president of the United States and talking about during his speeches and everything, and you're like thinking is toward that if anybody is going to be asking you to explain in a lot of ways it sure seems that way that could you possibly look at that as another way of saying this to explain in your own words about what this means and what that means, or like everybody says to word it for a quote about for what the Congress said, or what the president said, or what the Speaker of the House said, or something like that. But I have right here, I'm talking about with the president right here, and a lot of times it seems like the president is going to have this type of hand language right here. Talk about with the finger pointing and also with the hands, with with the right hand raised and also with the finger, like it's like you should you should get out there and vote, or I'm about ready to sign the executive order. And so every time you do think about that, and you're 102, each time you do think about that, and you're thinking this toward, the president is actually talking to the American people right here in 102s, like an executive order is another way of saying that there are there are rules that were put into law whenever it comes to getting the job done, and it is a package including the needs for the American people, and talk about in order is another way of telling our people what requests are made whenever it comes to fulfilling the requirements right here. Talk about for higher demand. So a lot of times it's like, so anybody who might even say too that you look at this example right here, this infographic right here, and 102, you have right here these tools right here, but still it's like your word to word it whenever it comes to explaining something to somebody and thinking is toward you watch the president talking about something, and a lot of times it sure seems that way. You have right, I'm like, with the American flags right here, but it sure seems that way that whenever he gives a speech, a lot of times, it seems like a lot of times it's like, whenever I need you to go, in order for you to vote and all that, and then also that whenever it comes to explaining something, and so whenever you do think about that, and you're thinking as to where that you explain, explain, and like let's just say that if your parents are going to be looking at something and maybe seeing something that you're working on a lot of times, and you're thinking as to where that your parents are going to be asking you to explain something for what they see, right? And your word to where what does that mean right there, or what do you mean by that, or what are you trying to say? And so it sure seems that way that every time you do look at something like this right here, whenever it comes to about 3 or 4 sentence paragraph right here, and then you have right here for higher demand and explain right here. So it sure seems that way that when we do speak about explaining something to somebody, that it's like, yeah, that it means is toward, you would, if somebody's asking you to explain more clarity about what is it that they're looking at right here. And most of the time, that's usually what it means, right? Is to where, can you please explain to me in clarity about what we're looking at right here? And that's maybe why, like everybody else would say, is to where that, do you think that it would make more sense to go ahead and build an infographic, explain to somebody about, besides, somebody, yeah, they're not really going to understand what all this writing right here is supposed to mean right here. Even though if you included a full page right here of something about what this, all this right here is all about, and like everybody says, to where, yeah, higher demand right here. And so it's basically another way of saying is to where a higher demand, meaning is toward it, other, like, yeah, our people, or, like, yeah, there's, it basically means is toward it, yeah, the Democrats and the Republicans or something like that. But let's just say that if I were to say something like, yeah, is toward it, other, our party, yeah, our party is using this. Our party is using this. And still, our party is still using this, and we are still, we still need it. So it sure seems that way that each time you do think about that, and you're warned to where, okay, what does that mean right there? Whenever you do say something like that, is still using this, and put a comma right there. But let's just say that that you first started working on something, right? And you're warned to where that you include a sentence right here. And let's just say that this sentence right here is going to say something like, an executive order is a way of like placing the rules in place about what's included in this package. And so each time you think about that, and you're warned to where that this right here is supposed to be an infographic right here. The president right here, the president is that they are getting ready, that the president is getting ready to sign something, and knowing that after they make a speech about something. So it sure seems that way that talk about for higher demand right here. So it's like, yeah, so it's like every time you think about that, and you're warned to where that you go and include about 3 or 4 sentences of something talking about something here, you include an infographic right here. And everybody may not be, they may not understand all exactly what is it that you were talking about from earlier, but it sure seems that way that, you would maybe think that it would only take you maybe 5 minutes to be able to talk about this and to explain the details about something, but it's like, yeah, 2 pages right here. And so that's why it seems like, you tell your parents too that, they're going to get bored real easily just by looking at all these pages right here from above, to where, okay, yeah, nobody has time to look at all that right there, but then, like, right down here, whenever it comes to talking about the president, the president was on TV talking about something, and one knows to where, yeah, the president is even going to be telling, our children about, is like to where, if you remember what mommy and daddy told you from before, and so it's like, yeah, so each time you think about that, and you're warned to where that you have right here the American flags right here, But it's like, yeah, so every time you think about that, and everybody might say is to where that talk about for higher demand and explain right here. So it sure seems that way that, yeah, that, how do you think that anybody would ask, to where that, you would like to put it to where is to where something real simple to understand, something real simple and, something that based on a topic that listener is wanting to recognize what's talked about, right? So every time you think about that, and your 102 is to where that yeah, that whenever it comes to explaining something, you're warned to where that in about maybe 3 or maybe 5 sentences that person is not going to really, like, yeah, well, that's too boring. That's too boring. I don't, that's not, that doesn't answer my question right there. So it's like, so every time you do think about that, yeah, like a little boy at a desk right here, and like so I was talking about this earlier just because that everybody would say is to where if everybody was able to see this right here, talking about little boy at a desk right here. I was using this right here as an example right here for a logo design just because that if you're going to be sitting at a desk right here, and it's like, yeah, that's another way of how you want to call this toward, okay, yeah, well, you're just trying to think of something to do, or you're trying to think of something to where that, there's nothing on this table right here, so if you're going to be sitting right here at a desk right here just waiting for something to do, right? So that's another reason why I include that right there. But talk about for parents right here, and also, with the president right here. So it's like each time you think about that, and 102 is to where, okay, yeah, the president's going to be talking about something. Talk about the executive order right here. And so each time you think about higher demand and executive order right here, and you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that somebody's going to say is toward, okay, yeah, that explain what exactly is it that this means, or what exactly is it that means right there. Our party is still using this. Our party is using this, and yeah, we are still using this right here. And this it is a package, and package that includes the needs for the American people right here. So whenever you do think about that, and you're 102, that yeah, whenever you were first working on this, for sure, that you actually were thinking as to where that whenever you first started printing out the details about if this right here was supposed to be any source of advertisement or anything such as maybe a newspaper advertisement or anything such as publishing work right here. And your 102 is toward that, yeah, the first 2 pages right here, are printouts of what the president was talking about, or anything that you were, anything that you and your parents were talking about from earlier, right? But it sure seems that way that, yeah, your parents are going to explain, or are going to ask you to explain what this is and what that is right there. So it's like, yeah. So it's like every time you think about that, and you're 102, that, yeah, that it's basically another way of saying is toward, okay, yeah, that, that, anything that we talked about from earlier, right? But it's like, your 102 is toward it, we have right here, like the president speaking right here, but you also is that, that whenever it comes to higher demand right here, higher demand explained right here. So it sure seems that way that, whenever you do, whenever we talk about an executive order right here, and like, everybody might say that, yeah, you know what executive order is, don't you? That's another way of saying is toward it, it was a document signed by the president telling everybody that yeah, that this is the new rule of law that came into place right here, and I can also mention right here, talk about for holidays right here. So it's like, yeah, so each time you think about that in 102, that talk about a gift for disability and also giving right here. But it seems like to me though that I can also put right here talk about for emails and advertisements and emails right here. And so every time you think about that, then you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that, whenever it comes to emails right here. And you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that, whenever it comes to email service and everything, and you're 102, that the main purpose to why you were looking at that article right there, so that way you can read the details about that, or read the articles, read the details about what the Democrats were thinking about, what the Republicans had to say about this and all that. But it's like, yeah, so every time you think about that, it seems like it's like bouncing back and forth right here. And you're always 102 is toward it. Don't you think that it would maybe make more sense to where a graphic designer would actually put together, a source of information right here, including graphics and also details right here onto a publication right here, to where you include an infographic right here along with the details right here at the bottom about, the things that were said during the time of this meeting right here. But it sure seems that way that when we do talk about higher demand right here and explain. So any readers and anybody in the media are going to maybe 102 is to where that you're going to start running out of room at some point to where you're not going to be able to explain to your readers about what all this is about right here. And that's why it seems like that, like everybody say, that if you're going to be talking to the parents, or if they're going to be talking to anybody listening right here, anybody who's going to be listening later, and 102, that that there is no room to for details about what was explained, what was explained from earlier, right? So that's why it seems like that you 102, that that higher demand right here. So like everybody might even say that that whenever you first started work on this job right here, you actually were told to put together some information, including an infographic about, a picture about, picture motion right here, motion graphic picture right here, to where it's supposed to include an example right here of, it's supposed to include an example right here of a character, like they're going to say, it shows right here them pointing the finger, them raising their left hand, and then also the American flag right here, something that approaches the audience attention right here. But then right here at the bottom, you're going to include right here is about 4 or 5 sentences of what this is, all this right here mentioned from earlier, right? But it sure seems that way that you include right here a talk about for higher demand right here. Higher demand, and so everybody might say is toward it, higher demand, and for higher demand basically means is toward I am sorry, but higher demand meaning is to where that there's more information that's required, because we have members of the party that still are seeking answers for information from earlier. So you have this right here, like everybody might say, that higher demand. So let's just say that whenever you first started working on this job right here, that you were told that please take 5 minutes to go ahead and answer a few questions. Please take 5 minutes to go ahead and respond to anybody who was talking earlier about something. Please take 5 minutes to go ahead and respond to this letter right here, or something like that. Please take 5 minutes. So it's like, so a lot of times it's like, how do we really explain about the fact about, whenever it comes to higher demand jobs. And so it sure seems that way that, Mr. President, that when we do speak about jobs, though, that, how do we explain that even on an application or even on a resume about that you're going to have the jobs out there that are going to be on higher demand. Higher demand meaning is as to where that they want, we need this now. We need this now, not tomorrow or not by Monday next week. We need this now. And so that's why it seems like that every time you think about that and you're 102 is to where that the higher demand jobs and to explain this and all that. So it's like so every time you think about that and you're 102 I also want to talk about your hard work right here, everybody. I'll mention right here down here, hard work. The hard work meanings to where you're hard working. And so it's like, so every time you put that into point of perspective right there, and you're 102, that hard working, can hard working also mean that this company wants you to start working right away, despite about if you are hired yet or not. Like everybody else might say that there's a lot of jobs out there. Is there really, Mr. President? Are there a lot of jobs out there that are going to hire you right away, despite about if they got an application from you or not? And it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, and in 102 that you're not officially hired to work there just yet until that company recognizes what you do, right? So that's why it seems like every time I think about that, and you want to know too that hard working, and so every time a company or a manager sees that, to where they see that you've been working hard on something, and you go by the higher demand right here, and so everybody might say is to where that you have a president that's going to be making a speech about something, right? You're going to have the president that's going to be making a speech about something. And let's just say that the president is going to maybe say is toward, okay, America, that not all jobs are going to require you to fill out an application. Not all jobs are going to require a certain level of a college education, right? And so that's why it seems like that you may think is toward hardworking Americans, and so that's why it seems like that. While you're working on something for sure, that what do you call it to where those jobs that want you to start right away? Jobs. The jobs that are higher demand. Those jobs that ask you to explain, and those jobs are going to say that, to where, you were not hired, you're not officially or hired, to work, to start working right away, but still. So a lot of times it seems like that every time you do think about that, like everybody says, we're talking about for a distill file or something like that, but you want to know too is to where that while you're working on something, if that something is going to be needed for sure, that there's going to be a company that's going to say is to where that, if your work is needed for sure, that there's going to be a manager that's going to want you to start right away, and that's another reason why that, the president would even say that, don't be surprised that there's going to be jobs out there. They're going to ask you to start working right away, even though if you did not apply to work there, for their company, and so it sure seems that way that every time you think about that, and you want to ask the president that, Mr. President. What do you call those jobs to where if they're wanting you to start right away, even though that you did not apply to work for them? I'm like, you were actually a student. You were a student. You were like so So it's like so every time you think about that, talk about for higher demand right here. higher demand basically means is to where that company is expecting a lot more progress to be made, than compared to what was originally presented, right? And so every time you think about that and talk about for hard working right here, for hard work right here, and so it's like, yeah, so right here, I have that spelt right here for hard working right here for explain and for higher demand right here. But let's just say that if we're talking about is that the president is going to be making a speech about something, and want to know too that the president's going to be talking about something, but it's like you're worried toward it. Do you think that the company is really going to understand what is it that you were talking about just by looking at these first 2 pages right here? Your parents are going to be asking you the questions, right? Questions that your parents are going to be asking you to explain. But really, what's another way of how you want to cause this to where to please explain about this right here? And the teachers are going to maybe be asking as to what does explain mean right here? And like everybody says, toward it, we're really that. Do you think that maybe anybody would say is toward it? Go ahead and create an infographic. Please create an infographic explaining about what exactly is it that you have put together right here, and like maybe 5 characters of 5 sentences right here about what this is supposed to what this is talking about right here. So do we think that maybe an infographic would explain about what all that you were talking about from earlier? So like everybody might say that an infographic, right? An infographic is supposed to include a picture. It's supposed to include it don't really have to be a colorful picture, but just one clear, high pixeled type picture right here that includes a real fancy, it don't really have to be a real fancy background, but just something to where that everybody's able to understand right there. Include an infographic right here to something everybody's able to see right here, and then include right here on the bottom of a few paragraphs right here about explaining about what this is right here. So it sure seems that way that every time you think about explain right here, that your parents or anybody's going to be saying is toward, okay, can you please explain to me what this is right here? And I can explain to everybody here, well, what this is right here. These are links right here. All these are layers. Layers about the product, talk about Forget for Disability right here. But then these are links right here. If you see this right here. So if I were to select this right here, I'll go ahead and select this right here. But everything that talked about from earlier, but this right here is the InDesign right here, but this right here, this right here is page 1 and 2, and this right here is the president right here, and so altogether 14 pages right here, the JPEG right here. So in case if anybody were to ask me that, so if you were to actually distill this into a file, that somebody would be able to click on it. They would be able to read the details about that. If you were to actually provide a distilled document of something about that, right? And so that's why it seems like that working with that InDesign right here. But then if I were to actually put this in, if I were to actually convert this onto a distilled document, then anybody people would be able to read that, and then they will be able to look at what I put together right here. And but still, it's like so it sure seems that way that talk about for higher demand right here. But it's like everybody might say that whenever the president is going to be making a speech talking about something, for sure that the president's going to be talking about something, and let's just say maybe 15 minutes later that he's going to have questions from from the left, questions from the American people from the left, and then from the right, and you say for higher demand. And so every time you think about jobs like that, then I want to know too that please explain what we're looking at right here. And so it's like So in case of anybody that may ask me that, can you please explain to me what we're looking at right here? And so that's why it seems like a lot of times, can you please explain to me what exactly is it that we're looking at right here? And I would probably say that, can I explain? Can I explain maybe in 5 paragraphs or something like that? But it's like, but every time you think about that, then you want to know too that, yeah, well, really, that, do you think that it would make more sense to go ahead and include an infographic, something that includes an illustration picture, something that includes a picture of something, and then you include right here on the bottom right here of just a little explanation about what that is right there. So everybody might say that, a lot of jobs out there that, the ones that are going to be on higher demand. Well, what does that mean whenever that they're going to be on higher demand? Well, that means that, the people, the party is asking you to stay longer. The party is asking you to work longer, to extend the hours. That the party, so the party is asking you to stay. And so I can put on here, top up for extend. And to extend. And so really, what does that mean? What does that mean to extend that? And so it's like, so every time you do think about that, then you want to know too that whenever you first started this appointment, right? Like everybody say that whenever you first started this meeting right here, that the first thing that you were thinking about was that we're waiting for other people to join this meeting right here, and please take 5 minutes to go ahead and talk about what we're looking at right here. And so that's why it seems like that 2 pages right here, but every time you think about that, and you're 102 that if you're going to be the host or the presenter or the narrator or the editor, that you always want to know too that why can't you give the person at least 5 minutes to talk about something before you take any questions, before you have somebody interrupting you and asking you a question, or asking about what this is and what that is and all that. But still. But on the other hand, that when we talk about higher demand, that's just another way of saying it, is to where that whenever you first started working that job, that there's more, that there's somebody that's needing more information about that. And so I could put on top up for the executive orders right here. And but still, it's like, I know executive orders and everything, but I really think in a lot of ways, like everybody say that the president's keeping pretty busy with what he's doing, since whenever he's elected. But still, it's like, but every time you think about that, and you're always want to know too that while you're working on something, that you are not officially hired to work for that company, but at the time you want to know too that whenever the president comes on TV, he's looking at the telling the American people that I need you to get out and vote. And so that would probably like everybody says toward get out and vote. I'll go and put that right here on the top right here, like everybody say that I need you to get out and vote. I need you. I need you. And put like a exclamation point right there. And so it's like, I need you. I need you to get out and vote right there. And I don't know, put exclamation point, or is that supposed to be a question mark right there? And half the time you're always 102 that okay, I need you to get out there and vote. And really, is that supposed to be is that really supposed to be a request or a demand or whichever? But still, it's like so every time you think about that, and you're always 102 that the president's going to show up on TV, and you're warned to where that yeah. I need you to get out and vote. And yeah, like put it usually you see it maybe on the top somewhere like that, but it's like yeah, I need you to get out and vote. And so yeah, every time you think about that, and you're 102 that yeah, I need you to get out and vote. So if we put it like right here on the top right here, and you're warned to where, okay, yeah, that I don't know if we all can read that right there, maybe just a little bit, but yeah, so it's like so if I were to actually place this text in writing like right here in front of this infographic right here, that's the president talking directly to the American people right here. That's the president, that's the president talking to the American people right here, telling them, I need you to get out and vote. I need you to get out and vote. And so it sure seems that way, that if you were to actually put together an infographic, something like that right there, to where that that right there is actually was originally put together by the designer, right? But let's just say that if we're trying to get this design right here to speak to the readers, right? And you're 102 that where do you think that you would want to place those texts right there if you're trying to get this graphic right here to speak, directly to the reader? And like everybody say this to, well, really, that do you think that you would want to put it right there on the center? Put it right there in the center, telling everybody that, yeah, with the finger right there pointing directly at the audience right there on the right, and then on the left have it to where the president is going to be waving to the people or something like that. So that's something to think about, right? But every time you think about that, and you're 102 that do you necessarily think about that to where you put together any source of graphic or any source of design, right? And you're 102 that you printed this out so that way somebody would be able to see, okay, yeah, some of your freehand work right here. This right here, yeah, if you did this freehanded right here. You did this freehanded, and include right here is the infographic right here. But then they have right here, talk about for I need you to get out and vote. And so I have right here, yeah, I need you to get out and vote right here. And then I have right here, I talk about right here, like for something with from what the president said right here. Higher demand, please explain your hard work and progress to extent. And so it seems like that, yeah, so every time you have this meeting right here, and everybody's going to say is to where that, yeah, that, Mr. President, do you think, for any reason at all, that, if you're trying to get, yeah, like everybody says, to where if you're trying to, if it's a logo, or if it's supposed to be any sort of infographic, you're talking to the American people about something like that, but it's like, But every time every time you watch the president speak about something, it sure seems that way. That he's been what he's saying is where he's trying to tell you something, and it's like you would maybe think that his speech would say something like, "I need you to stay in school and earn a good degree, and I need you to continue working. I need you." I need you to be able to continue. I need you to sign this paper or something like that. So it's like, so really, do you think that at some point that we're going to maybe be seeing infographics based on request, based on higher demands and requests about what the president is asking the American people to do? And let's just say that, that the president is asking is asking, Congress or the American people, and like you're 102, I need you to get out and vote. And people might say, well, if you want to include it today right here or something like that, or in November or something like that, but still, it's like, so each time you think about that, and you're 102, that really, what do your parents necessarily think about that right there? Anything that you see and hear on TV for sure, and you're 102 is toward, okay, it's no, Mr. President, every Saturday morning or so, I'm used to watching my favorite TV shows, or I'm used to watching my cartoons. I'm used to watching these cartoons, but the president is going to get on TV, and let's just say that when he's, and I know nowadays it seems like that, right? Nowadays it seems like that there's going to be a cartoon TV show episode to where or something like, a comic book. There's going to be a publication or a comic book, indicating something like an infographic, something like this right here, to where it's going to say is to where it's something like, I need you to get out and vote, today or tomorrow or something like that. So it's like, so every time you think about that, and you're warned to where that, the president is actually speaking to the American people, right? But your 102 is to where that, you're thinking, with the flags right here and everything. But on the other hand, it seems like that number one, that like everybody says toward, okay, if you had a meeting at 5 o'clock, well, you could be excused from that meeting. We need you to get out and vote, or I want you to go ahead and sign this new form here, or I want you to go ahead and read this article right here, or something like that. So every time you think about that, then you're 102 that, I need you to get out and vote. And, but still, it's like when we talk about higher demand right here and explain, half the time you're always 102 that, how do you want that to be explained right there? Do you want it to be explained with an infographic? Do you want that to be explained in a type of way to where to make it easier for your parents to understand, or whichever it is? Or, do you want that explained, maybe in an English, Latin type language, or anything like that? But, every time you think about that, and your 102 is to where, explain. And like I said earlier, that, I think anybody who's going to be reading a lot of these articles, by the way, are going to say is to where they ask you to explain in a yes or no scenario. And that's usually what it is, right? That if anybody is going to be at a meeting, though, that they're going to ask you, please explain. Just say yes or no. And so that's why it seems like, almost all the time, that whenever you do think about that, they're not going to ask you to explain in about 4 or 5 paragraphs of something that you were talking about from earlier. They're going to say is to where to please say yes or no. And so it sure seems that way that, talk about for higher demand right here. Yes or no right here. And so I'm like, like everybody say that, if you want to go ahead and include, like right here, go ahead and if you want to go in, yes, and if you want to go ahead and include, yeah, I can actually see that. People having their discussions and their arguments about that, but it's like, yeah, every time you think about that, and you're one or two that, yeah, the parties are going to be asking you to explain your answers in a yes or no format. Yes, yes or no, and so every time you think about that, you're one or two that, yeah, people would actually prefer it that way. By the way, they would actually prefer it that way. Please explain by saying a simple yes or no. Yes or no. And I know that that's usually like everybody say that, that's usually how parents want their questions answered, by the way. Yes or no right there. And, half the time you're always one or two that, yes or no, and yeah, and why not? And so that's not so simple, right? Yeah, why not? Well, why not? And so yeah, so every time you think about that, everybody might say that that's another reason why that maybe the parties and anybody who's going to be in that meeting for sure, they're going to say is toward why or why or why not? well, why not? Well, why not? And so that's why it seems like that. Every time you do think about that, and you're one or two that every time you think about that, and you're one toward okay, yeah, that if you're going to be in a meeting though, and for sure, higher demand, please explain. Yes, yes or no. Why not right here? And so it's like, yeah, why not? And I can actually put that right there next to the email, by the way. So in case of anybody that may want to know too, that yeah, if you would actually save this and provide this onto a PDF file document right here for sure, and if you were to get into discussions like that right there and say that yeah, you have right there, yeah, for PDF file format, why not? Why not right there? You have something that talks about explain what this is right here, and then you have right here for emails. Why not? Right there. And so it sure seems that way. It's like back and forth, questions and answers. And maybe that's another reason why that everybody might say that they would prefer, if you can go ahead and, include an infographic so that way you can get somebody to understand just a little bit of what you were talking about, and maybe what's really advised and what's really recommended, right? But still, it's like every time you do think about that, and you're one or two that really, why can't it be a little bit more simpler than that? But on the other hand too, it's like yeah, well the way things are going now, it sure seems that way that not everybody is really going to understand what all this means right here. So that's why more likely it's going to be on higher demand, and that's why somebody's going to say, okay, yeah, I understand a little bit more now. You include right here for why not right here, but still, tougher for higher demand, right? But the way I think about too, though, that whenever it comes to higher demand right here, and want to know that whenever you have something that's going to be by a higher demand, and want to know that really that why do you think that would really make anybody aggravated whenever you keep asking, somebody keeps asking you the same questions, and when I'm like, yeah, what's this all about? What's that all about right there? But still. So every time, like, yeah, talk about the president and all that, and but what we're also talking about that, higher demand whenever it comes to jobs, And you're thinking is to where that, when we talk about explaining something, that it's like, everybody is not asking you to write, blah, blah, blah right here. All this, this, in this package right here is supposed to include, funds for the American people right here. And so, like everybody might say, is to where I prefer my package to be a simple yes or no scenario, such as yes, it's going to do this, or no, it's not going to do that. And so it's like, would everybody maybe prefer it that way, to where that they would like for their package to be explained in a yes or no scenario, rather than you going into the details right here. A lot of stuff like, our party is still using this, or we still need it. And so every time you think about that, and you want to know too that really, what's one way of how to explain something, to where it make it easier to understand to somebody, and especially if it's higher demand. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.